Now we go into our topic of discussion for today. And of course, we're looking at the economic reform of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the reactions that we're getting from rating agencies with Moody's rating Nigeria, upgrading our rating to B3. What that means now is that our economy to some extent is getting stabilized. That is what they actually, that's what they're saying. Let's get some perspective into that there. Adigboyega Adbajo, economist and, of course, investment banker, is joining me via phone. I'm also expecting Dr. Kingsley Ayozie, chartered accountant, public affairs analyst, to also join the conversation. But first of all, let me start with Mr. Adigboyega Adbajo. Good morning, Mr. Adbajo.
Good morning, Yusuf. How's everything and how's the weather?
Very well. Good to have you on Business Daily. Let's get your reaction. When Moody said they are rating Nigeria, upgrading our rating to B3, talking about stable, what does it mean in a layman language?
Okay. So the first thing we need to have in mind is that it's a credit rating. And behind that is the thought that lenders to Nigeria are pretty much interested in Nigeria's credit worthiness. So an upgrade such as this is, of course, welcome. It's welcome not just from the performance of governors, but in terms of all the efforts that have been put into the economy. However, like you asked, let's get down to the details. What really does it mean when they say the outlook is stable? Yes, we're a notch up from CAA1, which is where we were. But the truth is, Moody's includes in its rating report that the stable outlook means that there are still risks in terms of oil price shocks. And essentially, that would affect FX. And beyond that, the inflation at over 20% is still considered too high. So those are things to consider at this point in time.
Those are the things to consider at this point in time. But looking at the reforms and, of course, the impact of the people, you think that shouldn't be should be put into consideration too?
Well, it should be, and recall that in the report it was stated that what the reasons for the improvement, the notch up to B3, is essentially because of the improvements in the FX reserves and in the balance of payments position.
All right.
So we can give CBN a thumbs up in terms of what they've done with managing the FX situation in the country. But again, the risk element that has been mentioned is that oil price shocks may affect FX reserves. Now comes the other part of it in terms of inflation. So if those are the two reasons that have brought up the rating, as it were, it still remains a plus. If you're talking about the man on the streets, this is not about the man on the streets, Yusuf, unfortunately. This rating is all about what lenders see and their perspective of Nigeria. And it speaks essentially to Nigeria's ability to be able to pay back US dollars that have been borrowed.
Indeed, our ability to pay back the US dollar that have been borrowed. So the focus is more on the macroeconomic indices, not about the micro.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Well, in that regard, do you think the rating should be something that we should begin to celebrate about?
Well, again, like I said, it's not a general rating of Nigeria. No, it's not. It's a credit rating. And we need to step back a bit and understand that these rating agencies, there may be, you can have a commissioned rating, which is when you yourself ask for a rating to be done, or as the rating agency, they generally run these ratings and they're available for subscription. In instances such as we have here with the credit rating, again, I stress, it's all about the lenders and wanting to know the credit worthiness of their borrower. And if they're doing pretty well, remember the aspect of the loan, the COVID loan that was repaid. Remember also that all outstanding remittances regarding air tickets purchased that had piled up. At one time, we were the largest stockpiler of unremitted US dollars for purchase of air tickets by IATA. But now we're totally off that list. There's no backlog. And so the FX management has been fantastic. These things have lent themselves to this rating. It's all about borrowing. That's what it is.
Indeed, it's all about borrowing. According to them, they did say that they have upgraded, the upgrade rather reflects significant improvement in Nigeria external and fiscal positions. Given where our currency is right now, will you say that this rating is genuine? We moved from 461 to 1,000, over 1,600 as it is right now, and we are getting a stable or what I call a positive rating.
Well, you think about it this way. The gentlemen at Moody's are mindful of the elements that shape the current rating and how those same elements provide some kind of risk perception, which may actually affect the rating. So, yes, the exchange rate is where it is, but the stable outlook speaks to the risk element of oil price shocks. If we take a look at the Middle East, everyone is hoping that Israel and Iran will not get going at themselves. That's war. However, if that war were to occur, the price of oil will go up. I'm aware OPEC is still working towards ramping up production right up to August, September. And maybe that brings in a lot more US dollars to Nigeria's reserves. But at the end of the day, the more peaceful the Middle East region is, and that's what the whole world wants, really, because peace brings about progress and development, the less likely it is that oil prices would rise to an extent that it will boost up our FX reserves. And if our FX reserves are not boosted up in such a way, the Naira will not be able to appreciate. But anyway, I think the stability it offers at this time, and it's not so volatile. The movements we've had so far haven't been that volatile. So it's a good, stable outlook for now.
Now, it does seem that we are more interested about the availability of the FX than the value of the Naira.
Well, they work together, Yusuf. It's the price at which we buy dollars or the price at which the Naira exchanges for dollars is all based on demand and supply. If the demand is always met because supply is available, it's not likely that there will be any kind of tension that brings about an increase in the price of dollars. You know, and an increase in the price of dollars means a fall in the price of Naira. That means devaluation. So CBN's idea of trying to have improvement in our reserves, in our balance of payments position, is actually a good thing for the Naira. There would always be a lag between cause and effect. So let's hope that the steps we're seeing now all leads to a more positive effect over the next few months.
Indeed, they're based on their rating as well. With regards to the policy shift, according to them, the risk is somehow has been diminished as well. But given someone like you that reside in Nigeria, and of course the rating that is coming from outside, in whose best interest really?
Well, for us, the part that interests me most from a microeconomic perspective will be to see a fair degree of stability in the exchange rate. Essentially because this translates into what's going to happen to prices and therefore inflation. You and I know pretty well that if the Naira is devalued, because we're so import dependent, the prices of a lot of things will rise, not because they're directly imported, but you know, there's just a domino effect on everything else. And it starts with energy prices, goes on to all sorts of other aspects of livelihood. So yes, for me living in Nigeria, I would rather a stable exchange rate, something I can predict, that I know will not move between more than a range of 2 naira up or down, whichever way.
Even if the value of your currency is weak.
Well, it did get weakened.
All right, seems to be having issues connecting to Mr. Adebayo. I hope we'll be able to reconnect with him so that we can discuss this conversation around the Moody's rating of the Nigerian economy from where we were before to a more positive outlook. We are in a CAA1 before, talking about our foreign and, of course, external positions there. And they are rating us more of a positive outlook now.
When that devaluation first,
we have a stable economy, and the reforms that we are having is beginning to yield fruit. We don't know whether indeed the fruit of the reform is beginning to affect Nigeria. I am told that Mr. Adebayo is back. Mr. Adebayo, are you back?
Yes, I am, Yusuf.
All right, let's go on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Don't go away. Glad to have you back there. We lost Mr. Adebayo momentarily. We hope that we'll be able to reconnect with him so that he can join us. But now I'm being joined now by Dr. Kingsley Ayozie. He is a chartered accountant and, of course, a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Ayozie.
Good morning, Mr. Yuto.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. Let's begin. I don't know whether you were listening to Mr. Adebayo there. Talk to us about your reaction to the Moody's report about rating Nigeria economy to B3, more like a stable economy, talking about our external and, of course, position there.
Okay, thank you so much for having me around Trust TV. Yes, I did listen to what Mr. Adebayo spoke about in terms of the Nigerian rating moving upward from CAA1 to B3. From my own perspective, it is a welcome development. It is a welcome development. How do I mean? There must be a starting point in any journey. Yes, it is a credit to rating that seem to focus more on the macroeconomic principles. So I want to believe that in this time, the effects will begin to manifest, especially with regards to the micro environment. Yes, the citizens always looked at it from the angle of the fact that price of commodities have skyrocketed. As of this morning, I'm aware that inflation rate is really at 23.7. So to them, to the ordinary man on the street, he doesn't seem to agree with that. But from my own perspective as a professional, I have to take it a step in the right direction, because from there, I think we'll be able to get to the situation. This time. All I need to employ government is to stick to the reforms objectively, such that the masses will begin to reap the effects. So that's the way I want to look at it for now.
All right. If you benchmark this rating now against the economic reform that we have in Nigeria, because according to them, they believe that the reform is more like, initially they were actually evaluating the risk, but now they are looking like there's a shift now that the risk is gradually giving away for more like a transformation. Do you see anything like that reflecting in the lives of every Nigerians?
Well, if you look at the reasons upon which this rating was based upon, one important reason has to do with the tax reform, which to me is a welcome development. Because if you take a holistic look at that tax reform, over time, the masses will begin to enjoy the ripple effect. I want to also look at it from the angle of small businesses. You are aware that small businesses, according to that reform, will now enjoy zero tax. So which means if you are a small business, your profit at the end of the period will not be subjected to tax. So to a small business owner, to an entrepreneur, that profit can also be plowed back to also expand on the business. Still on the tax reform, which is where I'm also agree then, so to say, for the low income earners or those that earn what you may call the minimum wage, the reform also classified them as those to be under tax exempt. So which means the money can also be used for other things. So on that basis, I want to believe that, reform certainly, or the rating certainly will have an impact on the ordinary citizen. Another reason he gave, which I may tend to differ, has to do with the removal of fuel subsidy. Yes, because that was another reason he gave. But then the ordinary man on the street have really enjoyed the removal of fuel subsidy. That is the question that is begging for urgent answer. If you recall that immediately that subsidy was removed, so more or less the prices of commodities skyrocketed. And one funny thing is that the moment fuel price goes up, the impacts will be felt virtually in all other spheres of the economy, because transportation certainly went up. And the man who has to transport foodstuff from the rural areas to the urban areas too will also be affected. And what then we see? We discover that the prices of food items also went high. So that is another challenge, or the reason they gave, which I do not really want to totally agree. But on the issue of reform, I think I give them a pat on the back. Then they also base their rating on the issue of unification in a foreign exchange market, whereby the price really that's the parallel market will not be that far from the one ruling at the financial institution. If it's on that, I think I may also agree with them. Then they gave another reason, which has to do with the increase in non-oil revenue, because over the period, Nigeria seems to have been a monocultural economy dependent, such that all our energy have focused more only on oil, and that is a serious problem. So this rating have actually said that we are diversing, and that diversification has opened the other sources of revenue, especially with the area of taxes, levies, and all other collections that the government will have to use to boost their inflow. So on that, I may agree with them, but the area where I totally disagree, I do not share in their rating, has to fuel subsidy, because that particular subject matter to me have actually caused more pain than gain. Maybe at the short run, but maybe in the long run, that I guess we may read, but at the short run, the pain is really unbearable. I was listening to the paper this morning, and there was this debate on prices of food items, prices of RAM, bearing in mind that the salary break will soon commence tomorrow. Imagine a RAM that was costing about 50,000, soaring well above 300, 500,000 naira just to get a RAM. So I want to, say that on the issue of fuel subsidy, I do not really submit. But on a general perspective, I think it is a step in the right direction. So let us be committed and hopeful, believing that in no distant time, the ordinary man will begin to feel the effects of this rating as provided by Moody's investors.
Indeed, we hope
Thank you so
that
much.
in a long run, Nigeria should begin to benefit from the reform, which is the ultimate. Because when you are carrying out the reforms and the people are suffering, it's difficult for you to begin to say you are actually doing very well. But there's something I actually want to look at. If you look at the GDP rating, we say we are carrying out reforms. If you look at the GDP rating by in Africa country, there Nigeria out of this, Nigeria is even out of the top 12. I mean, 12 African countries are actually rated ahead of Nigeria. A country like Seychelles, you see the country like Gabon, Libya that was at war is even now performing better than Nigeria. And yet, we're actually claiming that we're actually reforming the economy. I mean, are we really doing the right thing, Dr. Kingsley?
That's a big question. That report is so worrisome to me, especially looking at the countries that have actually moved up ladder and leaving our dear nation, Nigeria, out of the top 12. But I think we still have to double our efforts. More importantly, I want to suggest that the government should invest critically on the issue of security. Security is a big concern because it's also another perspective that can actually help the nation to move forward. Because if you have a secure economy, you have a secure environment, then human capital element can also move freely to do their work. And that will also impact on our GDP ratio. Even in the Middle East, you are aware of the security issues that are there. Farmers can no longer go to farm. And that is what is also contributing to the high cost of food items. So if the government can invest vigorously on security, such that we have a serene environment, address the issue of hostage taking and kidnapping, I want to believe that that can also be on the part of development. Again, I also want to suggest that we need to commit our resources into investment, infrastructure. No nation can actually progress meaningfully when infrastructure is at the decay stage. Roads must be fixed. There should be regular pipe of water. We should be able to have access to potable water. Energy is not negotiable. Yes, I was talking about the reform favoring small-scale enterprises such that they will not be able to pay tax. But then, if there's no energy to assist them, look at the man on the street, the organizers, the barbers. If there's no light, how would they be able to do their business? So I want to suggest that for us to get back our acts, in order to be that leader that we have been known for in the shores of African soil, the government should invest. We should budget heavily on infrastructure, roads, energy, power. They are not negotiable. And more importantly, the issue of what I addressed at the earlier stage, which has to do with security. Yes, with security, we can see ourselves get to that destination. But there, an economy is characterized with chaos and turmoil. Even the best hands cannot really move about to do their work. So I want to say that if those things are done, and again, I also want to look at it from the angle of providing an enabling environment, or what you may call EB business. Because once the environment is enabling, the rest assured that even the local ones can stay put and contribute meaningfully to the socio-economic emancipation. And above that too, for the foreign investors, you will see them coming. But if the environment is not enabling, then we are not getting anywhere. So these are areas I want our think tanks, I want our policymakers to focus more going forward, at least to complement that of the Moody's investors rating. We must address the issue of security. I have said it over and over again. We must. Once to get it right, then on the path of moving to our land, then enabling environment is not negotiable, because once the industries are moving about doing their businesses, employment will be created, there will be job offered. Then issue of social vices will go down the drain. Remember, another man is a devil's workshop. If our youth are not gainfully employed, that is when you see them easily being misled. But if we have our industries working, they get fully employed, and that will take them away from social vices. So that's just my little take on that. And I want to believe that if the government is serious about it, then we're on the path of clinching or taking back our lost glory as provided by the Tatishan Collaboration Steward rating. Thank you so much.
Indeed, talking about taking back our position, as of course, we're still the largest in Africa in terms of population. In terms of GDP, we are about number 5. But in terms of productivity, I mean, that is what is key. You have the larger population that are not productive. What are you going to breed? Poverty, massive unemployment, and so on and so forth. So what do you think government should concentrate on now in this area for us to get back to that position that we were before as the largest economy in terms of GDP growth in Africa?
Okay, starting point, I still have to go back to what I said. One, we must government on their own cannot provide jobs for the teeming youth and the masses. It's not possible. But then they should provide an enabling environment such that can run their businesses. You can imagine the study I have stated that entrepreneurship is the highest in terms of labor. So if the government can address issues revolving around entrepreneurship, you be assured that a lot of our unemployed youth or underemployed youth will be taken out of the streets from unemployment. And you can imagine when we're employed, then the issue of insecurity will also reduce drastically. But part of the challenges that we have is that most of the able-bodied youth who are supposed to be gainfully employed are not really working. And not really. So any little thing you see them looking for shots in making money. So the government should, as a matter of urgency, provide an enabling environment that will encourage ownership, that will encourage small-scale enterprises. Then they should also address the issue of security. Yeah, because you discover that some jobless youth have taken into social vices. They are hopeless. Kidnapping, who take it, because they feel that is a shortcut to making wealth. Absolutely. So if we invest vigorously on security, then we'll be able to address those issues, and Nigeria can also be restored back to her lost glory. But I must commend them. It's not about complaining. I must commend them on the issue of policy reform. Yes, that they have done well, especially from the angle of tax reform. Yes, it could was a part of the back. So such should be replicated. If you ask me to advise, we need to have a holistic reform on our security apparatus so that we address that area. If we address security, Mr. Felix, be rest assured that Nigeria will sing a new song. Our youth that are moving out in drones to diaspora for better welfare services, you see them to begin to have everything.
And of course, those who are outside begin to come back, what Yoruba people call Jakpada. I must thank you, Dr. Kingsley Ayo, Chartered Accountant, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for your time on Business Daily today. And I also want to appreciate Mr. Adeboyega Adebajo, economist and, of course, investment banker. I spoke to us earlier before Dr. Kingsley joined the conversation. We were unable to reconnect with him. I must thank you both for your contributions on Business Daily today. Thank you so much.